Union Chapel is home to an award-winning independent venue, a unique and historic organ, a radical working church, the Margins Project supporting those facing homelessness and social justice issues, and now works are underway for the heritage-led Community Hub Sunday School Stories project.
Well, I've been very lucky because I've been involved in this project since the beginning, that we identify the Sunday school as the principal element that needed repairs, but also it's a part of a building that everyone was quite keen in developing in a way that could be open back to the community, would present a smaller place for younger artists to perform, was a place for the church that could have a smaller activities or film projection, or also as a smaller prayer place than the chapel. It was an ideal place for Margins and the community to use it for their own activities.
Our community spaces are vital, undervalued and threatened.
Yeah, so basically we are redoing the roof works, we're doing a vast amount of brick repairs to the Compton Avenue elevation, also to the front and the sides. We've got some stone sill repairs, we've got some rainwater goods to do. We've got a lot of work internally to do to the Sunday school, take up all the floorboards, repair them, relay them, but we've also got an underfloor heating system going in, a load of ventilation ductwork going under the floors as well.
But also inside the Sunday school we have the archive, which is really represent the heritage of non-conformist heritage. And it's so it really includes, I think, the essence of Union Chapel as an organisation, and from all the different really elements that the Union Chapel represents. So I say from social justice, history, culture, heritage, and art.
The more you use a building, the more it's sort of conserved and it's cared for. So. The Sunday school was basically private hires, the odd event. Now it's definitely got a programme for events for local residents, Margins, all sorts of different uses. But to do that, we've had to put new functions in. So solving not just the fabric, but putting in new toilet facilities, tea making facilities, the right mechanical and electrical engineering, so that the heating and lighting is up to the right standards. It's all about future-proofing historic assets for future generations and the community. We're just custodians of historic buildings. You know, it has another life after we're not here, and that's the most important thing. So it's not going to be used as a Sunday school per se, but it's going to be used for a big community, and bringing it back to the community, which is really important.
I've been working on old buildings for 24 years now, so I've seen quite a lot. I prefer working on older buildings because I find it a lot more interesting. Like I say, you do discover things and you learn from them.
In restoration, nothing's the same. No matter what building you work on, there's always a different challenge or something unforeseen that you will find that you have to get over or work around. So I personally would rather do restoration work than work on a new build. Restoration, you don't know what you're going to uncover.
But yeah, it was just a large crack going through, bricks crumbling. So we had to drill them out, count them up, and order them as the same as on the ground floor. We'd have to cut and rub each brick down, so we'd have to buy oversized red rubbers, and then we'd rub them or cut them to the angles that they're in. Like that. And then obviously we've got the yellow bricks here that are blended into the reds or the orange bricks.
When we lay them, you see this part, you always see the bottom part, that's what catches your eye. So that's where you want your line, or that's what you want to make sure is flat. Although they were slightly bigger than we needed, we made sure the bottom was laid in right, and then we rubbed down the tops of them to rub them into the size was right. This will eventually go a darker colour in time, but what we sometimes do is we do what's called toning in. So we might use various products like ash and stuff like that we'll put on the brick so it looks a bit darker, so it doesn't stand out, because you've got two There's two schools of thought. One is that you don't want to see the repair, and the other is it's an honest repair. We've used lime, we've put the right materials back in. Ours will last a lifetime because we'll put them back and they'll be done properly. So they'll last me out, so, and probably Aaron as well. So. What we do is, I've got a little tool there, just show you. It's called a chariot. So what we do is we rake out the joint, just like that. So we leave it back about 15 mil. So then we point it with one mix so we don't get all different colours, because obviously there's a different drying time. But when we rake out, we point all in one go, all the colour will be consistent. Because we've got a slight pink tinge on this, so rather than us try and match it and, you know, make different batches up and all the rest of it, what we do is we send it off to a lime place and they analyse it, and then they come back and say this is what they used, and then we just mix that up with water and do our job. It's like a whole painting. You don't stand up 6 inches away to look at it, you stand away from it so you appreciate the whole building.
The sequence of the roof would be strip the roof, store as many tiles as we can that we're retaining from both the front and the back, because we're going to use all what we can on the back of the main pitch roof. Then we will put a vapour barrier in, then we will put a Pavlov insulation within the joist, then we will cover it with another canter batten and insulation, then it gets felted, then it will get battened again, and then the tiles will go on, which have been ordered, which are sort of handmade tiles for the front elevation. So then the back will be all reclaimed ones from the original roof structure.
Architects in the Victorian period designed roofscapes for their aesthetic effect and did not really consider the practical aspects.
The front elevation's was more tricky than the back, so the back's more or less a straight pitch. But these, you've got all the gable ends and stuff like that, so it's quite a lot of valleys within the corners and stuff like that. It's quite tricky, bit of roofing on the front.
But also we are using Kemet tiles which come from Kent, they're all handmade, so it's around 18,000 tiles which are going to be fixed on the roof, and they kindly donated us a few hundred tiles so we can use it for our Target Tile fundraising campaign, and where people can leave a mark on the tile, and these tiles will be then laid on the roof.
So trying to introduce insulation in historic fabric is always quite difficult, but also being able to do that cuts the costs in terms of energy use, which obviously cuts the cost of bills. So that's one of the main factors. But also installing new services, you know, LED lights, the right heating, putting an air source heat pump, getting the right ventilation in there, making it comfortable for people wanting to use the space. But obviously, trying to create accessible facilities is also very key.
We hope it should attract really a diverse elements of community, from people who might be elder people who have stopped working, they want to come back to work and be more involved with their heritage and building, but also young people who had to take as a beginning to discover a little bit more about the heritage and hopefully see if something they're interested in, and see the heritage is not just something, it's not just a building works. Heritage involves lots of aspects, really. I think that's one of the beauty also. I personally really like the physical element, touching over this, so that's the aim of this workshop, is to have people who might not necessarily think they're interested in heritage, and they come in here for many different reasons, maybe just because they have heard, they know about Union Chapel because of the music, they know about Union Chapel because of margins, and they are interested in coming here and understand a little bit more and have a goal really to learning how to repair a building, how to replace a brick, for example, or what kind of mortar to use, understanding more about traditional materials and techniques to be used.
Yes, this is the first time I done tiles roofing, and it is also the first time I experienced on hand. We don't really use tiles in my country and not really in the Philippines these days anymore. So yeah, this is very interesting and it's my first time.
We also had a wonderful lecture today. He gave us so many nice background about Union Chapel and also the Sunday school. And I love Union Chapel already, but when I walk past by it in the future, I would have even more love for it.
And I think it's good that they're trying to involve the community, and I think you have to keep part of the heritage, otherwise there'll be no history, would there? If you just eradicate all old buildings to put new buildings, it's just everything will look the same. And just you don't get the character that you do with heritage buildings.
Don't think heritage is a step. It's actually very nice. Normally people are very friendly. Everyone is very keen to explain how things work, to transmit their own heritage, and it's a nice way of working together and discover the heritage, discover the history behind the building, and discovering the material techniques used to do it. And I think must be very great sense proud when you finish a job and you see the building is actually safe again and it looks beautiful again, and you can say, I've done it. You can pass 50 years later and say, I've done it, and I'm part of it, and it's still there.
The Sunday School Stories project is made possible with thanks to the National Lottery Heritage Fund and National Lottery Players, and more generous funders and supporters.